Hi everyone, welcome to the Module 1 overview video. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be focusing on CVs and resumes. What's so special about CVs and resumes is that it's your first opportunity to showcase to employers what makes you so special and why they should hire you. You get to highlight your work experiences, your education, your skills. So for the next 2 weeks, we're either going to take an old resume or CV that you have and editing it and honing in on what makes you special now, or we're going to create a whole new one. So your learning activities for this module are to firstly, by Sunday, please introduce yourself in the discussion board. Please also complete the course attestation by Sunday in the attestation tab. I can't grade any of your coursework until you do. Review all of the module resources. And by next Sunday of week 2, please create or revise your CV and resume. So first thing we should talk about is what's the main difference between a CV and a resume. And a lot of that's really going to depend on what your career goals are and what you plan on going into. When we talk about resumes, most of the time, we're talking about people going into either nursing leadership or quality. Whereas most of the time you're going to submit a CV if you're going into something such as nursing education or a research position. And you could read, there's really good resources throughout the module, including the CV and resume comparison here. As well as if you continue to go down, there's 2 templates. There's a template that CNHP gives over here for CVs, as well as a resume template that the Drexel suggests over here. And you can use your own template as well. But these are good ideas on what templates you can use. And some people decide to get very creative with their templates for CVs and resumes. Just make sure that if you are creative, and you totally can be, that they still continue to look professional. And spend this time reading what resonates with you, what resonates with your future career goals. And based on your research, decide, do I want to revise what I currently have? Do I want to switch from a resume to a CV or from a CV to a resume? Based on everything you're seeing, do the templates work for me? Do I want to try a different template? There's no right or wrong. This is your time to explore and to see, based on all the examples and everything else you're looking at, what works for you. And as you see right here, there are a bunch of examples that you can look at. There are even a couple of examples of Jackie, for instance, there's one example of her at the beginning of her career, and then a little bit later in her career where she has a little bit more, so you could see some growth throughout her career. I just want you to remember, in looking at all of these CVs and resumes, that wherever you are in your career now is exactly where you should be. You are perfect in your career right now, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed if your CV or resume is not as long as some of these examples, because I remember being a student and looking at some resume examples and thinking, wow, I do not have nearly as much as all these people do. But what's nice about resumes and CVs is that it's a document that continues to grow as you do, and you will continue to add as your career evolves, and your career will continue to evolve. So now these are just things for you to continue to look at and continue to grow. But definitely use these examples and see how different people added things to their resumes and CVs. And now this is a really good resource for common CV and resume mistakes that we see pretty frequently. Some of them are pretty common sense, such as spelling errors that we see pretty frequently, but make sure to just look through that. A lot of it is related to font sizes and font changes and spelling errors. But definitely look through them just to make sure that you're double checking your resume and CV for those mistakes. And then on the bottom, we have our assignments, our week 1 discussion board, and then our week 2 resume. So now I'm just going to pull up the assignment. Okay, here's our rubric for our CV and resume. When editing your resume or CV, you're going to want to be intentional about what you put in it. You're going to submit this by the Sunday of week 2, And then I'm going to give you substantial both oral and written feedback so that you could fine tune it again to put it into your portfolio. But just remember, this is never done. Your resume and portfolio is going to then be again edited when you're done with this class, when you're done with this program, and then for your next job, and honestly throughout your careers. So continue constantly editing it, and you can feel free to take my suggestions or not take my suggestions. So let's go through the rubric. When related to content, you're going to put all of your professional experience, education, achievements, and you might notice that when looking at other people's, that some of the sections might apply to you and some might not. Just be intentional about what you're actually adding. Related to visual appeal, you want to make sure that your font is consistent throughout and that it looks professional. You can completely be creative with your resume. That's totally okay. We've had many creative resumes or CVs. Just make sure that it looks professional. Organization-wise, you want to make sure that it's easy to follow, that it's well organized. You want your jobs and your educational experiences to be in reverse chronological order. So your most recent experience should be at the top, followed by everything after that. And then use appropriate headings. Try to not place like a job under certifications. And then for grammar and spelling, you want to make sure that everything is spelled correctly and grammar usage is correct throughout. If you're presently in that job, you want to make sure that it's present tense, whereas if it's a past job, you want to make sure it's in past tense. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a ton of feedback that you could incorporate into your portfolio. Some of it you might like, some of it you might not incorporate, and that's totally okay. Either way, I hope you guys have so much fun doing your resumes and CVs. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. Have an amazing week.